I'm betting the
Ao Eli
told you to kill me as soon as we loaded the cache.
No. I killed the
entire team.
What?
Team.
Hello. I am Aoyalaipe, and I like to hop into top tier matches in War Thunder and then personally kill the entire enemy team by myself. Welcome to my channel. Yeah, so today I'm gonna be wiping this entire lobby with a Shahak. Shahak's hat? It's a Mirage 3. Now, most of you are thinking, what is a Shahak? And the rest of you are thinking, you did what with a Shahak? That thing sucks. And well, okay, yeah, but it certainly got some redeeming qualities as this poor lobby is about to find out. So the Shahak is this weird little Israeli delta wing. It's only got 2 rear aspect infrareds, 1 weird French radar missile, and no countermeasures. So apart from being a delta wing, it's not something I would normally fly, but I just got the pang to screw around with something a little offbeat a few days ago, and the ensuing shenanigans were too funny not to put on YouTube. Plus, the way you fly this thing is not only genuinely interesting, but it applies to a lot of other planes as well. But anyways, first things first, since I don't have countermeasures, I need to deal with the people who have missiles I can't dodge. In this case, that would be the A-10 and the J-7D. Now, dealing with them either means I use my speed to stay out of range so they can't attack me, or I go berserk and kill them before they can even think of attacking me. In this case, the answer to that question is yes. I pick that A-10 out of the crowd and snipe him with the Matra 530. The J-7D then hits the deck, so I climb to put enough distance between us that he can't get me. And that also conveniently lines me up to make a long-range gun kill in his F5C. He clearly isn't expecting someone to already be behind him this early in the match, so a few short bursts and he's out of the way. Oh, and before we go any further, I'd like to thank Rust Thunder for his second $500 super thanks. His name is going right here under the Comic Sans kill counter. And with that, I finally cleared that backlog of mega donors I wanted to dedicate videos to. Thank you for your generous donation, and sorry for telling you to take a number when you gave it to me. Now, the essential trade-off with delta wings, like all delta wings, is you get more speed but less energy retention. And this sort of combination is really good for a vulture playstyle, especially if you're in a delta wing that doesn't have flares. While it's true that missiles are just starting to get good at this battle rating, there's not an overwhelming number of really good missiles yet. So you're free to use the sky. You can go up, down, sideways, wherever you want. This plane is a fast plane and it's good at climbing, so you're good at going in whatever direction you want. You certainly don't have to hide behind a mountain, although many players will still find that to be helpful. After all, missiles do not go through mountains. This is particularly true if you're flying the French versions of this jet, some of which have countermeasures. So with the Shahak, there's one particular routine weakness you want to look for and exploit in other players. You see, if you're far away from someone and not looking straight at them, they will almost never take you into account when they are deciding for themselves where they want to go or who they want to attack. So players that are 3, 4, 5, 6 kilometers away will often open themselves up to be attacked by you without realizing it, and because you're in a fast plane, you can close that gap and be right on top of them before they know what hit them. This is also why I'm using AIM-9Ds on this thing instead of Surefire 2s. You get a choice between those missiles, and these missiles have very similar capabilities, but the AIM-9D has a longer range, while the Surefire 2 has an uncaged seeker. Given the capabilities of the Shahak, I want the longer range. That's the better trade-off here. And because this plane is right on the edge of where top tier really truly begins, a huge number of players of this BR do not understand the basic mindset and approach they need to take to this game at this battle rating, and in particular, they do not understand how far away they need to check for threats. They do not understand that people that are like 5 kilometers away can easily catch up and kill them in a few moments. And oftentimes they don't even know how to manage checking, and I'll get to how to do that later on in the video. Speaking of things I'll explain later, going fast basically stealth nerfs the range of bullets, and there's a super crystal clear example of that later in the video, so I'll hold the explanation until then. However, that trick is how I avoided dying to that J-34 right there, and you can tell he was a bit confused because he asked me, did it hit you? So I, of course, turn around, fire a missile, and basically say, no, it didn't, but my missile will hit you, and then he dies. Yeah, I am kind of a dick. Now, on one hand, the ensuing conversation with that J-34 player is really funny, and I did want to share it, but I also don't want to, single him out because he didn't do anything morally wrong. In fact, I was the bad guy in this scenario, and I'm even flying a bad guy plane, too. After all, this jet is French. So I figured I'd just scrub his name from everywhere where it's convenient, but I can't get it completely out of the video. So the next club is Alpha Jet. I try to get a radar missile shot at him, but that doesn't work, so I just switch to guns and snipe him. And quick side note, I'm using stock guns with default ammo, actually. Normally when Gaijin gives me a test drive, the plane will come spaded, and then it'll actually stay spaded after the test drive expires, even if I don't have the plane unlocked. Yeah, it's really unfair. However, I unlocked this plane normally a long time ago, and Gaijin doesn't give me test drives on planes I already own, so I'm actually missing quite a few modifications on this thing. I have to grind those out like everyone else, or I have to buy the modifications with Golden Eagles Gaijin gave me for free, just like everyone else. So for the next part here, it won't be obvious what I'm doing to the untrained eye, but a lot of what I'm doing here is I'm trying to avoid that J7D that's reappeared. Just like my Shahak, the J7D is a fast Delta Wing, but unlike my Shahak, it has countermeasures and some very good, very long-range rear aspect missiles that I cannot dodge. In fact, it outmatches my Shahak in basically every way. This is actually a super down tier for the J7D. It's a slight up tier for me, however. Given the mismatch in capabilities, I need to avoid that J7D if and until he makes a really big mistake and lets me just pounce on him. Also, a quick note on why it was hard to get a missile shot on that Alpha Jet a minute ago. The R530 is extremely vulnerable to chaff. It doesn't work like a normal radar missile does. It will chase chaff in the same way an AIM-9B chases flares. So you don't need to notch and chaff an R530 dodge it, you just have to chaff it. It also has terrible short-range performance. Hitting anything in a head-on from less than 2 kilometers away will be almost impossible. However, it doesn't really give you a radar warning either. It gives you a track but not a launch warning, and it can hit someone from miles away if they don't dodge it. A lot of players of this BR will not know to dodge it, so it winds up being extremely useful in practice. Remember, in TTAA, Delta Wings are brutally effective at exploiting the skill issues in enemy players, but they tend to be really bad at actual stand-up fights. So you're supposed to play these things like a complete rat bastard. Like, if you're going into the War Thunder Wiki and comparing this thing's turn rate or whatever to some other plane's turn rate, you're playing it wrong. This plane is for screwing with people. Anyways, to very abruptly change topic, F-104s are the best planes in the game at head-ons. In a head-on, they are fast, tiny targets with a high-velocity gun. That is the worst combination you could possibly face if you're trying to fight one in a head-on. So the way you do it is you fire a long burst them from as far away as you practically can, and then you scoot the hell out of the way well ahead of time. Head-on attacks are always the F-104's fight to lose, so if your level of commitment extends beyond taking wild pot shots, you're doing it wrong. Now, in comparison, this Su-7 behind me has a really low velocity cannon. Even if the distance between our planes doesn't change, the faster I'm flying, the further his bullets have to travel to actually catch up and hit me. My plane going faster stealth nerfs the range of his bullets, so he needs to get about half a kilometer away from me before he can actually hit me with his low velocity cannon, and when he gets with that range, I just abruptly loop up and over him, and that's too sudden for him to adjust his aim. I am now going to fly to my teammates. That loop is basically guaranteed to stop the Su-7 from killing me, but it murders my speed, and speed is my armor. My teammates can cover me while I get my speed back. I don't need a shield if I have meat shields. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and snipe this guy here. He can eat lead. You can generally dogfight if you are in a swarm of friendly players who can cover you. However, this is a calculated risk because sometimes your teammates will suck. And this is a risk that's I'm about to lose, actually. And F3H2 manages to fly right past a bunch of my teammates without even being distracted. I probably killed him a few times. He looks hell-bent on revenge. That's usually why these things happen. And I then have to do the loop thing to dodge his bullets. But by the time my loop is done, my teammates have wandered off, which means I have no energy left when an F-86 also decides that no, he wants revenge too. And that's how I got killed by an AIM-9B. It's been a while since that's happened. You should go into every situation with a plan A, B, and C and how to survive. Sometimes all your plans will fail, but at the very least, having them will make you ridiculously hard to kill most of the time. So, anyways, I got half their team with a Shahak. Let's pop it back up and see if I can get the other half their team with another Shahak. Spoiler, I do. I'm sorry, Mr. Enemy Team, but there's been a second plane. I actually had another funny exchange a few matches later after a different death. Someone severely damaged me, and then a guy who was really angry at me chased me down for the killing blow. And this angry guy was like, "Back to Russia, sir," even though I was in an Israeli jet. And they told me I shouldn't tunnel vision, which is a weird thing to say considering I was already on fire when he attacked me. And like, bragging about killing a guy someone else already set on fire is just a weird flex. So then I popped another plane and killed him a few seconds later because he actually was tunnel visioning. And that shut him up. Don't try to trash talk me. Between battle rating 8 and battle rating 10 in arcade, you'll find like some really angry people. Like if you want to farm salt, that's where you go. The reason why is that the switch from low tier mindset to a top tier mindset is extremely abrupt in arcade. It's much more gradual and realistic. We're talking about a learning cliff instead of a learning curve. So the people who can't make the cut get really frustrated and they get upset really easily. Now I got a Limb 5P and a vampire behind me. I cannot run and outclimb them, so I'm going to run away and climb, but let me pause this to show you a quick detail. I'm in a very dangerous area of the map because the enemy spawn is right there. Now, if no one spawns in, it doesn't matter. I can pitch over and get one or both these guys. However, if someone spawns in, they can easily pincer attack me with those guys I'm already fighting. So I need to watch the map and make sure that no one spawns, and if they do, I have to break off my attack and escape by flying this way before either of them can lock me down, because then I'll just get pincered and someone will kill me. That doesn't wind up happening, but you never want to get between an enemy player and their spawn unless you have a pretty solid plan B. Now, as you can see, that vampire appears to have lost interest in me. He's peeling off. He probably assumed I was running away, and that's going to make him a free kill. He's opened himself up to be very vulnerable to attack from me. So I'm just going to dodge that Limb 5 slow as balls 30mm shells that he was trying to fire straight up at me, and I'll score a quick missile kill on that vampire because a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, and then I'm going to peel off from that Limb 5P. He can't catch me. And I'm going to circle around while I work out who to kill next. I ultimately decide there's no juicy targets available quickly enough, so I jettisoned my last A90 to get tactical reload going on my missiles. And you know what, for sake of time, let's just go ahead and fast forward through this reload. Actually, on second thought, I think that vampire player might have just stalled out trying to climb to get me. Anyways, that was actually the J34 player's last plane, so he's now out of the match. As you can tell from the chat, he clearly wanted to kill me. It didn't happen for him this game, unfortunately. For him, not for me. I'm glad he didn't. I like killing people and getting away with it. Now, someone has popped a backup on an A10, so I'm going to go berserk and kill it immediately. No, I'm not facing A9Ls for a moment longer than I have to. However, these two poor players right here are in my way, so I fire a radar missile at one of them, but because the A9D doesn't radar slave, I can go ahead and fire my infrared A9D at the second guy. I now have 2 missiles in the air going to different targets at the same time, even though one of those missiles is a radar missile. So now that I've double killed those 2 guys, I can go after my main target, which is the A10. And the best way for me to do that is actually to charge him in a head-on. And I only managed to crit him in the head-on, so I just turn around and kill him with a follow-up attack. I actually tend to go out of my way to kill A10s with head-on attacks because A10s are so bad at them. To start, their AIM-9Ls don't turn well at close range, particularly in head-ons because of how the angles in a head-on work. So their AIM-9Ls have a tiny no-escape window in a head-on, which is a huge advantage for my Shahak because I don't have flares. I have to outturn it. Meanwhile, the A10 is really bad in head-on attacks with guns alone, because the A10 is a big, dumb, slow target. That means it can't shoot and scoot. It can only shoot. But my Shahak can shoot and scoot just fine. Your giant Burt gun doesn't do squat if you miss with it, and you're not going to survive the head-on if you can't dodge the other guy's incoming bullets. In fact, I have a guide on head-ons, and like 90% of the background footage is just me waltzing right up to A10s, shooting them in the face, and getting away with it. The key to winning a head-on gunfight is not having a good gun, it's having a plane that can shoot and scoot. So like, the Burt gun might sound scary, but if you know what you're doing, you can just waltz right up to A10s, shoot them in their big dumb face and get away with it very reliably. In a head-on, their bark is definitely worse than their bite. Now, as I mentioned, I said I was going to explain this early in the video, so I'll get to it. With regards to paying attention, once you get to BRs where there are Fox 3s and AIM-9Ns flying around, paying attention can be a bit more of an involved process. However, at BR 10 or so, where the Shahak is, 95% paying attention is just learning how to check the map. See, if you're used to guns-only fights, you need to keep track of people who are half a kilometer to a kilometer away. So if we plug that into pi r squared, okay, well, technically it would be a sphere, not a circle, but they both communicate the same core concepts. Let's roll the simple one. If we plug 1 kilometer into pi r squared, you have to watch 3.14 kilometers of area. However, if you suddenly have to watch people who are 5 kilometers away, you have to watch 25 times as much space. Remember, it's not 5 times as much space if you go from 1 to 5, it's 5 squared times as much space, and 5 squared is 25. So just looking around will eventually stop working for you. Instead of just holding C and looking around, you actually have to look at the map. And people who don't know to do that will get absolutely walloped early on in TTAA. By the way, I wasn't planning to make a video with this plane this week, or make a video with it ever, actually. You see, I regularly take breaks from War Thunder and do other stuff so I don't go crazy. War Thunder is a fun place to visit, horrible place to live. However, my viewers will never notice I take breaks because I have a ridiculous footage backlog. I kill teams way faster than I can make videos about it. Like, I've had to start dropping 20-0 kill streaks from my intro reel because I was speeding up so much that people said it was giving them headaches. So anyways, I've been on break from this game for about 2 weeks, and then a few days ago, I just suddenly felt like playing some weird little 10.0 jet. So I hopped in my Shahak, like, kind of on a whim. This is my first game after coming back, and I was like, this would be something different to post. I usually, fly something that has all-aspect missiles and a lot of flares and that sort of thing. Oh, and if you're wondering, the video I bumped to make time to edit this one was my Su-27 SM video. And you probably won't get to see it next week either, because I'll probably skip next week's video altogether, because, KCD2 and Civ 7 just came out like 2 days apart. So if you're waiting for me to cover the Su-27, tough shit, I guess. I felt like covering a random Israeli plane that no one has instead. You could go watch another top-tier arcade YouTuber explain to you, but oh wait, there aren't any. I'm the only one. I guess you just have to subscribe. And make sure to ring the bell too. You don't want to be stuck remembering how to spell Aoyalaipe. Also, you can super thanks me a lot of money because I'm a nice person or something. I don't know why people do that. But anyways, back to the background footage here. We once again have a guy who is spawning in his entire lineup. Please don't do this. So once again, I must explain that your crew lock timer will expire early if the match ends. If you're the last guy on your team, the match ends when you leave. That means no crew lock timer. If you're the last guy left, you can just leave. There's no consequences. People who don't know to do this tend to be the same people who complain about spawn camp or being spawn camp because they insist on spawning and they just get slaughtered. And like, if you insist on spawning, I will insist on killing you. Like where you die is up to you, when you die is up to me. It's particularly tragic in this case because this map has a ludicrously overpowered positioning advantage, or at least his team does. You see, instead of turning after people around his own spawn, this guy should hit the deck and fly directly over his own airfield at really low altitude. The dense AAA cover will kill almost anyone who gets close enough to kill him. So it becomes a really safe place for him to build energy and look for openings to attack. That's what I would do. And I mean, that literally is what I would do. It's what I did do. If you've ever seen my A5C video, it was on this exact same map, but my team was on the other side. So I used that exact tactic over that exact same airfield to drive another player completely insane. And that player was a super toxic, hyper-competitive racist, so it was really funny to kill him with a variety of dirty tricks he wasn't expecting. And that plane, the A5C, is not much higher in battle rate than the Shahak is, and as I said, this BR is where the crazy people live. Anyways, this right here is the last enemy plane, so I'm just going to swoop in and heroically score the game-winning kill steal. So anyways, that's how you wipe out an entire lobby with a Shahak, or as my teammate described it, absolute slaughter. By coincidence, my last video was on the F8, which is the best dogfighter at the same general battle rating. So that video winds up being a very good complement to this one. If you watch that video and this one, you should have a solid idea of how BR 9 to 10 works. Thanks for watching, and remember, if you subscribe and ring the bell, you won't need to remember how to spell Aoyalaipe next time you want to watch one of my videos.